And it's time for another comic book grading video. So if you want to learn how to grade comic books, or at least learn how I do it, or if you just like looking at old, cool Tarzan comic books from the 1960s, well then this is the video for you. So stick around and have some fun. You just might learn something before you're done. Hey there, Bubby. Welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke, and this is another grading video. And yes, we are grading Tarzan comics today. Some cool old Dell comics from the 1960s. Matter of fact, this first one is issue number 120, and that is from September, October 1960. And I think we're going to go fairly quickly through this stack because I really don't have that much to say about Tarzan, at least the comic books. I don't have much knowledge there, if I'm being quite honest. I've read all of the Edgar Rice Burroughs novels back when I was in junior high school, and I've seen a few of the movies. I mean, the Johnny Weissmuller movies, but as far as the comic books go, I don't have a lot to say. So I think we'll stick to the grading this time and maybe keep the commentary to a minimum. Looking at this first book, these are all really kind of nice looking books. And we usually, when I say we, these are not my books. I've said this in other videos, but to reiterate it here, I am doing these books for work. I work for a company that buys and sells comic books online, and these books will end up on eBay under the seller name .com Comics. We've got a retail store in Freeport, Maine, .com Comics and Collectibles. And we also buy and sell comic books from a website called sellmycomicbooks.com. There's also a YouTube channel, Sell My Comic Books, and you may have seen some of these books unboxed there. We do unboxing videos when we get in new collections. And so the books that are singled out for sale on eBay as raw singles. They're not sent to CGC for grading. They end up here on my desk, and I do the grading for those books. So if you buy a book from .com Comics on eBay and you don't like the grade, 9 times out of 10, I'm the guy you're mad at. We'll, like I said, move pretty quickly through this stack. And all of these books from this collection, they must have been bought at the same store. Now, the last couple of videos, we were doing some Silver Age DC comics, and they all had this code, R, and then some numbers, R, in this case, 74. And I think that is a pull date. The R is probably return, and the 74 means July 4. So how this worked, if you didn't see the other videos or you don't know, back during this era, the cover date of a comic book was about 3 months after it first went on sale. So this book, September, would have gone on sale in what, July? No, June. So June, July, August, September. I think what this is, the 7/4 is the pull date. So this book would have arrived probably June 4th, and the retailer kind of wrote on there when they were going to pull it off of their shelves, because the thing about the 3 months is supposedly, that would give readers time to find the issue. Well, you could end up with 3 consecutive issues of Tarzan on the stands if it didn't sell out. And a lot of retailers, mom and pop shops, didn't have a lot of shelf space. So they might pull the books after 30 days rather than 90. And the distributor would come around for returns, and they wouldn't pull it off the stands. They'd pull it out from underneath the counter where they stuck it. So I think this is a pull date. I think that R probably stands for return. And you'll see these numbers written on a bunch of these books, at least the earlier ones. Here we don't have it from this later run book. But anyway, these books look pretty nice. This one, for example, we've got a little stress there, a few other stresses, but otherwise not bad at all. The edges are nice and tight. The corners don't have much blunting. And the arrival date really doesn't affect a grade to a great degree. I think the theory is because somebody would have bought this book this way brand new. It was the retailer who wrote on it, and That's just kind of how that is. You can see here, depending on how I hold it in the light, there's a bit of a fold here. So I think maybe that cover got bent back at one point. But the back cover looks nice. Could win a captain's ride. 5,000 cash. How much was 5,000 cash in 1960? The interior pages look pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to call that book, you know, I think we can call that book an 8. An 8.0, very fine. Because again, there's aren't, other than that one stress right there, and maybe that little tick there, not a lot of actual damage. Again, we've got this bend, but it's something you don't see unless you hold it kind of just right. So I'm going to call that an 8.0. And you tell me in the comments below if you think that grade is too high, too low. Would you be happy with that book if you bought it as an 8.0? Here's issue 121. And it's kind of the same thing. It's good if you hold it just right in the light. You can see a bit of a bend here, but again, not much for spine stressing at all. We've got here an R728, so again, I think that's a pull date. We do have some damage here at the bottom, and I think we've got, yeah, unfortunately. Hope you can see that. If we open this up, we get that ding there, and we also have about a 1/4 inch, maybe even a half inch rip here at the bottom of the cover. And then I don't know what's going on with page 1 here, but that got bent up somehow. Back cover looks okay, although we've got I think we got a 1/2 inch rip there as well. Does that go all the way? You know what? Holy crap. That 1/2 inch rip, I think it goes all the way through the book. Look at that. See these interior pages? Huh. Well, I wonder what caused that. Here you can see these interior pages. That's a damn shame. I think that's going to knock that book down to maybe a 6, because there's not much damage other than that. Again, you've got the ding here, and whatever happened to the first page. But beyond that, that rip at the bottom is the only thing. The rest of it looks pretty good. So I think we are going to have to maybe call that a 6.0. Actually, you know what? I think I better go down to a 5.5 on that. And here we have issue 122. This one's a little rougher. Got an R1124, I guess. But again, the edges are nice and tight. This book has kind of the beginnings of a spine roll. And we might have some loose pages inside. I don't know. If you had ever, you'd been around in 1960 and had sent away for that frontier cabin, you probably would have been disappointed with what you got. Now, I wasn't born yet. I didn't come along till the end of 1967, so I missed out on these ads in comic books. I got Sea Monkeys, and X-ray specs, but from what I understand, if you had sent away for that frontier cabin, what you basically would have got is a big cardboard box painted to look like a log cabin. So, kind of a rip. All right, as I was holding that book up on its edge, the centerfold looked like it might have been loose, but it's not. It's nice and tight. It looks good. So, I don't know. I think I'm still going to call this book. It's got a little bit of a rounding here. That could be probably pressed out. I think I'm going to call this book, because you also have some A little bit of soiling here. And a couple of ticks. I think I'm going to call this book a 6.5. But if you press that book, I bet you could turn it up into a 7.5 pretty easily. This is issue 123. Price has gone up to 15 cents. Now I know Dell Comics were notorious for not having an issue number on the cover. They sort of counted on the kids to know, oh, I recognize that cover. I already bought that book. But I've actually already looked through this stack, and so I know this is issue 123, and it's 1961. I have all the issue numbers written down here to the side where I am writing down the grades as I do them. This one, again, has the start of not really a spine roll, but a little bit of a bend here on the spine that could be pressed out quite easily, I think. There's really no ticks. Yeah, a couple real small ones and here at the bottom staple, but nothing really major. I think that little bit of a bend there in that spine, that could be pressed out pretty easy, and that would bring this grade up to what? Probably an 8. Centerfold looks good. The art here is pretty crude, pretty basic. I don't know that I would feel especially thrilled if I got one of these original pages. But I think I'm going to end up calling this a 7. A 7. But I bet you could press that up to an 8. Another Tarzan, June, 15 cents. I can't imagine 15 cents did a lot for Dell's sales. All of Marvel and DC were still 12 cents at this point, and would be for a long, long time. This is 1961, and Marvel and DC wouldn't go up to 15 cents for, geez, almost to the end of the decade. 1968, 69, they went up to 15 cents. 1970, not sure exactly when. We've got again a return date written on here, R330. That might even be an arrival date, because that is 3 months before the cover date. And again, not really a roll going on yet, but kind of a little bit of a bend here. I don't know what that's from. If it's from, just folding the book back. Got an ink stain here of some kind. I don't know if that's from a ballpoint pen or what that is. There's no writing on the book, but just that little bit of a stain. There's no distributor stripe. Sometimes you get that splattering from the distributor stripe, which was a color code that was sprayed on the edge of the book, and that told the distributor, the person going around, when to pull the book. So I want to look at this centerfold again, if I can find it. There it is. Centerfold's nice and tight. So I think this is another one, actually, with that bend. And that, I think this one I'm going to call a 6.5. But again, you could press that book and make it a 7.5, maybe even an 8, pretty easy. More Tarzans. I think Dell actually went back down to 12 cents at some point. I don't think this 15-cent thing lasted super, super long. We've got some troubles here, though. We've got some trouble here in River City. I've got a bend here at the top, and it's actually, that's kind of loose. That would come off without too much effort, and I don't know what's going on here. Okay, that's not a color flake or anything. That is just part of that image. But we do have right in here, between my thumb and forefinger, about 6, 7, 8 stress lines. And we've got some at the bottom, and some blunting, and some stress lines here. This one, ooh, and a kind of a bend here. Well, I was going to call this a 6. Actually, I think I'll still call it a 6. I don't think that bend is... It's bent, but that bend there doesn't really break color. This one in the back is a little more concerning because that's starting to get loose. But I am going to call that a 6. And again, I invite you, can't say this often enough, I invite you to leave your comment and let me know if you think my grading is off, what you would grade these books as. I get it's a little hard to tell from the video, but do the best you can. Tell me what you think. Got an R727 written on here. Got a few stress lines along here. It's hard to see them because they don't really break color, and the color is such that it would be hard to see anyway. You have a kind of a stress line here. It's a little hard to see. Some more of this ink splattering. I don't know what's going on with that. And again, there's no distributor stripe, so I don't know where that's coming from. Here we've got some more stressing, about a half dozen right in through there. The art is a little better. Well, no, it's still pretty crude. And Tarzan, if you notice, in all of these panels, he's got basically the same expression. So I'm surprised this book might have sold as well as it did. Assuming that it sold well, I guess I would assume it did okay because it was on the stands for a long time. But its theme, whoop, straight line. It's like I'm thinking of a comic book strip character, Jiggs. Leave it to Jiggs, or well, here's one where he's actually got his mouth open, but the rest of it's just that straight line. Bringing up father, I don't know. That straight line mouth is reminding me of a comic strip character that I can't think of at the moment. This one I'm going to call a 6. It's a fair amount of stressing there, even though not all of them break color. That's a cool cover. That's the thing about these Tarzans. They did have good painted covers. It's a shame we don't have any photo covers in this stack, but they did have nice painted covers. Here we have some blunting down here. Not a lot of stressing, so that's good. And these edges are nice and tight. The back, we've got some browning, and you can see a couple more stresses here. Now, do we have a spine split at the bottom? Nope. Well, we do a little bit. Can you see that? But mostly that's a function of that bend. It looks like that got dropped on its edge at some point. And actually, we've got kind of a bend here, too, that's kind of weird. Now, see on these interior pages, you can really see that bending here in this corner. And also, you can see the bending in the interior. So it looks like it got dropped. I don't know what is causing this bending here. I mean, that just looks like a bad cut off the press, maybe. Anyway. I think between the tanning in the back and the pages and these two corners being blunted up pretty good, I think I'm still going to call this a 6.5. I was inclined to sort of reach for the stars, a 7 or a 7.5, but I think I got to stick with a 6.5. Granted, these two corners are really all that's wrong with that book, but it's too much to get into a 7 range. Anything that touches on very fine. And this is a great cover. Look at this. That cat looks both ferocious and scared at the same time. So we get a few stresses, 2 or 3. We've got a little bit of a 1/4 inch top spine split there. Bottom looks okay, but we do have a bend here. $12.95 for a spit-and image Daisy BB gun. I'll have to look up and let you know. Inflation calculator statistics. What is $12.95 and $20 from 19? Are we still in 61? What is going on here? Why is that stuck? Oh, we got a rip. Those pages were folded in. 1, 2. No, I guess it's just the last page. The artwork's a lot better. Holy crap! That's a marked jump in the quality of the art. Yeah, it's still a little crude here. Everything's drawn pretty well except Tarzan himself. So I think this one we need to go down to a. We're going to need to go down to maybe a 5 on this one because of that rip. Because of that rip and the spine split. No, I think I'm going to go 5.5 because the rest of the book is so good that you're just talking about those 2 major defects, but the rest of it is really good. So I think I'm going to go 5.5. And here we get some monkey business. Monkey business for Tarzan. And this is issue 129. We are up to 1962 now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stresses. We've got a little chip out of the top spine. That corner's bent and has a little bit of a chip out of it. Actually, a lot of those top pages have a little bit of the corner missing. Blunted down at this end and this end. A little bit of yellowing on the back cover. The interior pages look nice. Holy crap! Sorry about that. So we were just speculating earlier about how well Tarzan sold. Well, now we know. The statement of ownership and circulation, according to this, at this point, Tarzan was selling on average over the past 12 months before this issue 509,355 copies per issue. So 500,000 copies circulation. I wonder what you'd get with a Tarzan book today. Probably about 10,000. But that's not bad. Holy crap. 500,000. 509,355. Wow, that's impressive. And you would think that we would see more Tarzan comics in the marketplace, but we don't. And when we do, they're usually fairly low grade. That's what's kind of exciting about this collection is that most of these books, oh, look at that. That's a printing problem right there. So that's not really going to affect the grade over much. But these are all things considered, fairly decent. I'm going to call this one also, I might go to a 6 on this. No, I think I'm going to call that a 6.5. You do have the chip out here, but the rest of that book has got really, really nice eye appeal. I think we can call that a 6.5. Here is issue, what is this, 130? This one might even be a 7.5. What do we got here? Oh, you got half a dozen stresses right through here. Only really these break color. Tiniest blunt there, but it's all nice and tight and straight along all edges and corners. The back, still, the back is kind of tanned up a little bit. That's not really as white as you'd like to see it, but the page quality inside is not bad at all. Oops. Looking for that center fold. There it is, nice and tight. I think this one I'm actually going to call, I'm going to call this one a 7-5. If I had maybe one or two fewer stresses, or if that back wasn't quite so tan, I could go for an 8. I think I'm going to give that a 7-5. And what do we got here? We get down towards the end. Oh, look at that. Tarzan fighting dinosaurs. A little Turok action going on there. All right, well, let's take a look here. We still got these R numbers written. I don't know how somebody would have even have seen that. But that's R614, so I think that is a pull date. Got kind of a long horizontal bend there that you really can't see unless you hold it just right. But this edge is straight. The corners look nice. Some weird color rubbed off there. That spine looks real nice though. You got a tick there, a one there, and one there. That's not bad. Again, the back cover is a little tan. Interior pages look good. Centerfold is good. And that's actually some more dinosaur action. Huh. I'm going to call this book an 8. I really am. Oh, I actually have a little bit of a bend here, but I mean, it's barely perceptible. I think I can call that book an 8 without too many complaints. Tarzan riding a giant bird. This one has got a, it's got a few problems. You got a bend here along this whole inner spine, and there's a bend here. And where those two bends meet, here and here, right there in this corner, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's dinged up pretty good. But all of the other edges look pretty tight, although you've got some bending here at the bottom. But overall, I call that not too bad. I think though, I got to go a 5. Should it be a 5 or a 5-5? Just because of that bend right in here and kind of the crinkling of this corner. I think I'm going to go with a 5-5. I mean, there's nothing torn or ragged or anything like that, and not much for spine stress, but I don't know what's going on here. What this actually looks like is it looks like something heavy, like a book, was sitting on it right there and ended up crushing this edge. But I think I can still call it a 5-5. Because you might even be able to press that, most of it out. If you put that in a press, you could probably bring that up to a 6-5 or a 7. So these are some really decent looking Tarzan books. Like I said, a lot of the Tarzans we tend to get, we don't get a ton, a super ton, but when we get them, they're kind of rough. These ones aren't bad. All right, last one in the stack. This is 133. So this is from 1963. And this one's a good looking book. A little rough there. A little kind of chip out of the bottom spine. And one stress mark there. That looks to be about it. This corner's kind of blunted. But the rest is tight. Got a little chip here. A little tiny chip. Oh, you know what? I didn't even notice. We have crossed over. We crossed over from Dell to Gold Key. Right there. So that is issue 131. 132 is the first Gold Key issue. So that is when Dell, who was really a distributor, split from Western Publishing, which actually packaged and produced its comic books. They split. Dell started producing its own books, and Western started distributing its own books under the Gold Key label. And so that would be why we've got here this pinup number 1. When Gold Key started out, they did these pinups on the back cover, which was really just a front cover. And I mean, rather it was Tarzan or Top Cat. That's what it did. Flintstones, Jetsons, whoever. That first month, they had these pinups on the back. Pinup number 1, and it's basically just a virgin front cover. So interesting. But, and this one, of course, then is pinup number 2. And I don't know, I don't know how long they kept up the pinup stuff. I don't think it was very long. I don't recall ever seeing, a pinup number 23. But this is the second Gold Key issue, and it looks pretty good as well. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with. God, you just look at it and you want to call it an 8, but then you see this blunting, and you're like, oh, maybe it should be a 7.5. And then there's that tiny little chip at the bottom of the spine. You're like, oh, maybe it's a 7. But overall, it's such a nice looking book that, and very little stressing along the spine. I still think I have to go with a 7, though. If it wasn't for this chip out at the bottom of the spine and the starting to split up, not far, like an 1/8 of an inch, not far at all, but other than that, I would call it a 7.5. But that's it. That is that stack of comic books. I hope you had fun. I did. And we will be back. The next video, we're going to be doing a few more Tarzans, but we'll also be doing some Del Turok. So that'll be fun. Come back for that. But until then, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.